Hi there. Today we are going to be learning how to set up a spreadsheet, how to format the main heading correctly, how to format the subheading correctly, and also how to format the column headings. So we're going to go into Microsoft Excel and in a new sheet, a blank workbook. Let me see if we open it from scratch. Okay, mine opens it to a blank workbook. If yours does not, then choose blank workbook when you have different templates to choose from. Okay, so we're going to start. I'm going to show you how to add sheets down here because this assignment takes a couple days. It has 4 different sheets. So we'll come down here and hit the plus sign until we have 4 sheets. And then I'd like you to double click on each one and rename them. Okay, Proj 1 for Project 1, Proj 2, and so on. There are going to be 4 projects done in this same file or workbook. Now, I'm going to have you do Project 4 first because there's some information I want to show you how to do on 4. If you can do 4, then 3, 2, and 1 will be even easier than 4. So let's start with the one that requires the most knowledge. Okay, so be sure you're clicked in Project 4, and then you're going to look at the handout or the assignment page that says Project 4. And it says to type the main heading in all caps in cell A1. Okay, so these are columns A, B, C, D. These are rows 1, 2, 3, 4. So in A1, all caps, we're going to type, whoops, I turned it back off, annual earnings by education. Basically, the data is going to show like how much people earn a year based on how much college they went to. Okay, so for the main heading, we click in A1. We are supposed to always change the main heading to size 15. So change it right here in the font size. Also, make it bold because that gives it more emphasis, it stands out, and it calls attention to what the heading is. Okay, now it says merge and center it in cells A1 through E1. So what that means is, see how right now I can click on separate cells? We actually want to use our thick cross, stay in the middle of the cell with the thick cross and select all 5 of those. And we want to join these individual cells into one big cell. So we're going to come up here and click merge and center. Okay, and now we can't click the individual ones, it's all one big one. And that's what it should be like. Okay, so then this one doesn't have a subheading. Normally a subheading would go right here and it would get merged and centered across the same distance. Now, the reason we went to E is because I'm looking at the paper that has the data we write, the data that we fill out, and they are using 5 columns. So you always want the heading to be centered over the number of columns you're using. Okay, so before you do any kind of column headings, you leave an empty row. So row 2 is going to have nothing. Row 3, this is why I wanted to start on project 4. On row 3, these 2 headings, and you'll see if you're looking at your paper, it says high school graduate, but it wants you to break it up. So the column doesn't have to be so wide to fit it. Okay, so break up the headings. Now, if anything, any letters go over into a new column, come up here between the C and the D, and grabbing that line and dragging it makes the column wider. Okay, but if you just double click, that's called auto sizing. That's what I always do. Let the computer decide how big it needs to be. Okay, and then this one is going to say some college, but it splits it up. And then E is bachelor's degree. Oops, degree is supposed to go down here. Okay, so sometimes it's easier when you're trying to erase part of it to go do it up here in the formula bar. backspace. Okay, and then this one isn't split because it's just one word, characteristic. Okay, and if it's not fitting in A, again, auto size, and then no diploma goes in this one. And it got cut off, so double click. All right, and then you only underline this row. Underline and center. You still center these upper ones, but you don't underline them. Okay, so then you're just going to be typing in the data. After I type male, I hit enter, female, enter. Okay, you don't have to pick up your mouse every time to go down to the new cell. You can just use enter. And now I'm using arrow keys. All right, so for the amounts of money that they make per year, don't type the dollar sign. We're going to add it later in an easier way, and don't type the commas either. So just 22,138 enter, 13,076 enter. Okay, and then over to high school graduate column. Just looking off my sheet here. And then if you have some college, this is how much you make based on your demographic. On average, of course, there's higher and lower. Okay, so what I want to show you is that usually cells are in a format called general. No matter where I click on this spreadsheet, everything says it's general. Now, that's fine for most instances, but sometimes your numbers need to be in a certain format. So we do want to select all of these numbers and we want to change them to currency. Now you can get currency from right here, and most of the formats we'll be using. But I did want to show you that the whole entire list, you have to go to the dialog box launcher. Now this is in the home tab in the number group. So in the dialog box launcher, if you click that, it'll open up the dialog box, and then you can choose currency. And you can say how many decimal places you want. Looking at the worksheet, it doesn't show decimal place and cents, so you can just have it be 0 decimal places. But let me show you. If you forget to do that, it's no big deal because you can do it out here. This button will decrease the decimal place one at a time, and this way we'll add decimal places. Okay, so we have the dollar signs and no decimal places. And just to show you a difference here, don't choose accounting because that puts the dollar signs out at the left edge. Sometimes we do that if needed, especially if we're an accountant for a living. But in general, people like you and me that are not accountants, we leave it on currency. The only difference is whether the dollar sign goes close to the numbers or out at the left edge. Okay, and then remove those 2 decimal places. All right, that is it for today. Let me know if you need any help with this. Thank you.